Hey YouTube, what's up? Steve here, and today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to do camouflage. So there are a whole bunch of different ways you can do this, and the way I'm going to be doing it today is I'm using these labels. Here's the package. It's template 6470, and these are full sheets of removable white labels. So you can find these at like any retail store or pharmacy, office supplies store. What I do is actually I find patterns online and I just print them out. I look for patterns that are easy to cut out with the design really separated, like this one. And then for this case, I actually used Adobe Illustrator to create a document with 6 of these duplicated onto one sheet, and then I photoshopped out the gray background. This is what it looked like the first time I printed it, so these are much easier to cut out, and this saves ink as well. What you could do is actually just draw your own patterns on this and just cut them out. That worked just as well, but it's also easy to cut out patterns. Finding ones like this is actually kind of difficult. I found this by searching easy camouflage pattern, and it's like the bottom of the search results and on a external website. So vary up your search results or your search keywords by using like camo, camouflage, urban, woodland, digital, tiger, desert. I mean, just keep varying up your result or your keywords, and you'll get a whole bunch of different results, and you'll find something that works. I've got a few other ones that are pretty cool that I might use in the future. I've got this one, very like tiger stripey. Here are the first layer one stencils, and here are the second layers. This one would be pretty difficult to cut out. To cut out these stuff, I usually use these little scissors. We could also use a razor. Just use a brand new blade, and you should be able to cut through no problem. I'm actually going to make this available on my photobucket. I'm going to link down below, and you can just click on it and download it. And from there, you could either just print it as is, or you could scale it down if you want a smaller one for like 1/44 scale or something. And yeah. So now let's talk about actually doing the camouflage. So what I like to do is cut out enough to have a bunch of pieces to work with, and it actually takes a lot of practice, just like anything else you do with modeling. It takes practice before you just go off and do something. So I've done a couple tests with this pattern and color scheme, and this is actually my second attempt at this, and it's I don't like it. Well, I do like it, but there's one thing that's wrong. So I've overlapped the white over that black piece, right, like so. And I don't want to do that for these pieces. What I want to do is actually space the white and black parts out. So as an example, I'm going to keep this as is and then redo it later. Or if once I finish all these pieces and it just looks fine with them, I might just leave it. But yeah, that's how I'm going to do the future pieces. And yeah, it took me 2 tries. Every pattern and every color scheme you're going to use will take a few practice runs just to get the hang of it. I've done this a couple times now, so I've got the feel for how this pattern works, but it took me practice. I couldn't do it first try. So now for the colors, obviously I've painted the first color, which was black. And I'm going to jump back a sec. So the first time I did this, I actually screwed up, and I did white and then black. And then the next 2 colors, which is dark sea gray and then German gray. And what happened was by doing white first and then black, these colors became really dark, and this was very bright, so the contrast was way off. So this time around I'm doing black first and then white. The white will be a little duller and these colors will be brighter. So there'll be more contrast between all these shades. So that's another thing. So for colors, you want to consider what it's going to look like to paint over the next color. So I'm going black, then it's going to go white, so it's going to really lighten it up, and it's going to be dark because it has a dark base coat, and then these two will be lightened up even more. So if you're going to use black, either use it at the beginning or end, I think, because if you use it in the middle, the colors before it will be really light, and the ones after will be really dark. So another thing is that you need to either use all flat paints or all gloss paints. You can't use a mix unless you use a flat base to make all your gloss paints flat. Here's an example. The blue, or the sky blue, is actually a gloss paint. I've just used a flat base to make it flat to go along with all the other colors. I needed to do that because all these grays, they don't have a gloss coat of that, so I had to use flat paints. Tamiya has a lot more flat color paints than they do gloss paints, so and for layering, so this was pretty simple because it just has 3 different colors. This one is more complicated since I have 4 colors. This was actually pretty simple with the digital camo. You just kind of lay a few patterns down, no problem. But for this pattern, I have to really layer it, and that's actually kind of difficult. So I'm going to stress practice again. Get the hang of applying this pattern in a way that works. You have to put 4 layers of paint on there, so if you screw up the first layer, the next 3 layers are going to be screwed up. So practice. So I think we can get started. I'm going to show you on this chest piece because it's a complicated piece, and it looks really dark because it's all black. I have to adjust the lighting a bit. So one more thing, I have built up parts like the feet and the arms. Oops. Even though I will be taking these back apart and painting the inner frame, you want to do this while these pieces are assembled so that you don't get patterns that don't line up correctly. So that's just one thing to think about. Same thing goes for all the other pieces. In this case, I've actually just glued all these parts together to get rid of the seam lines and stuff. So tools to have on hand: tweezers and a razor. For the first 2 layers of stencils are going to be the smaller, skinnier pieces. So I'm going to dig through here and pick out some small pieces. And start to apply them. So, and how I'm going to actually apply this is I'm going to do this at an angle. So it's kind of going like this, working its way around like that, similar to how this is kind of angled, kind of like a flowing pattern. And you don't need to wear gloves. I actually found that gloves made the labels less sticky, so they actually started to peel up. But just make sure your hands are clean. And actually I want to put this piece on. I removed it so I can paint inside there, but now that it's painted, I'm going to go ahead and snap that back on so I can apply a pattern over this whole thing. So I think this is good for this piece. Actually, I want one more piece here. But for the next layer, I'm going to do white. And something I'm going to try to do, I don't know if it's going to work, is I'm going to avoid some of the cracks and little crevices and stuff, trying to add a little bit of pre-shading, a little shading in there and stuff. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to try. And notice the way I've applied the patterns, I've allowed plenty of space between them and left spots where I can start to apply white stencils, like here, here, one there, and then that's in preparation for the last layer, which will go between, like connect these pieces. So we'll get to that in a minute, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do the all the other pieces on this kit. So it's gonna take a little bit, but it'll be worth it. I'm about finished with the first layer, and I just wanted to point out a few things. So for like the front skirts and stuff, you can just kind of align them the way they're going to be and apply like one piece across, like here. Look what I've done. This way you kind of cut back on the amount of really small pieces that you use. I've gone through the first layer and I'm already out of the really small pieces, so I'm gonna have to cut some more for the next one. Another thing is, don't overdo the pieces. So here's the foot, and I've just put a couple pieces on, nothing covering the entire piece. Remember that the second layer and the third layer will need spaces to go as well, so you want to have enough space to put another couple pieces for the white, and then the much larger pieces for the next layer, which will separate the German and the sea gray. So as you can see here. Alright, so I'm gonna finish, I think I've got like 2 pieces left, and then I'm gonna start painting. I'm gonna let you guys get a look at what these pieces look like after applying the next layer decals and painting them white. So again, I'm stressing, don't overdo it. You're going to need space to put the next layer of decal or masking. So yeah, just don't overdo it, whatever you do. And for like these side skirts, most of these pieces are just little pieces that I've cut off on pieces where, like here, where like overlapped into a piece where it doesn't need to be masked, so I just kind of cut that. Alright, so last piece, and then so next I'm going to paint the rest of these pieces with, or all these pieces with the dark sea gray. Now for this last layer, what I'm trying to do is apply these pieces so that I'm masking off where the sea gray will be, as well as creating pockets for the German gray to be. Basically what I'm trying to do is make it so there are no big empty spaces. That will be all German gray. So I'm going to use the masking I've already applied and these new pieces to create pockets. So it's kind of tricky. You have to use a lot of these masking pieces, and that's why I've saved the bigger ones, because they cover the most area and are easiest to do this with. So alright, so I finished applying the last layer of the stencils and I'm getting ready to paint. I thought I would show you a few of these pieces before I get started. So as you can see, I have pretty much covered the entire pieces, just leaving little gaps here and there for the German grade, the final color. So I'll let you take a look at a few of these pieces. Yep, make sure you press them down, all the masking down firmly, and make sure nothing is lifted up before painting. The chest is a little different. I used a lot of small pieces, but same kind of idea, just kind of cover the whole thing. And since this will be the last coat, you kind of want to make sure you get every little spot. Like this has a little opening compartment. Actually might want to take that off. No. So yeah, show you one more piece and then I'm gonna start to paint. I ended up using an entire sheet of these masking pieces and then some, not much more. So here's the second sheet I started. So one chunk here and a little bit up here. So yeah, pretty excited to be finished. And then after I've painted it, I've got to peel all these masking pieces off and see if everything looks okay. Hopefully I don't have to redo anything, so let's get painting. Alright, so I finished painting, and the last thing to do is to remove the masking. I'm always really nervous when I do this. You never know what it really looks like until you remove all the masking. I am expecting some soft edges and some kind of white lines around some, like the black there and stuff. But most of that I can fix. There's just major things that I'm really worried about, like really bad looking spots and stuff. So to remove the masking, it's pretty simple. You'll need tweezers and sometimes a razor to get under some really stuck down ones. The two pieces I want to start with, the chest and head. I'm going to actually start on the head because it's such a small piece. I was kind of not sure if it would look okay, and it's kind of the most prominent part of the kit. So see, the masking just peels right off, no problem in most instances. So you just want to be careful not to scratch your paint using a sharp instrument like this. And here we go. I have removed all of the masking, and I've got to say I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. It actually looks a lot better than what I was expecting. The lines are pretty good. A few soft spots in a couple areas, but I was expecting that. But yeah, this came out really well. This is probably the worst spot. There should have been a little more white and black in there, but not a problem. So hopefully you found this tutorial helpful, and hopefully you can achieve similar results. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.